You know the feeling. You're 20 feet from the gate, maybe 30, and your horse is already somewhere else. The ears are back toward the barn, the neck is tight. Every step forward costs you something, and every step that doesn't happen is a small argument you're losing. You turn for home and he transforms, loose, forward, almost cheerful, like a different horse entirely. Most people call that barn sour, and most people spend years trying to fix something they've fundamentally misread. Here's what's actually happening. Your horse is not being difficult. Your horse is not lazy, not dominant, not testing you. Your horse's nervous system has identified the barn, or the herd, or both, as the one place in his world where the threat level drops to 0. And every time you ask him to leave it, you are, from his perspective, asking him to walk away from safety. He's not arguing with you, he's arguing with his own biology, and his biology is very, very persuasive. That reframe matters more than it might seem right now. Horses are obligate prey animals. That's not a poetic description, it's a functional one. Their entire sensory and neurological architecture is built around detecting and surviving predation. The herd is not companionship to a horse the way it is to a dog or a human. The herd is survival infrastructure. Each additional pair of eyes is a statistical reduction in the probability of being eaten. Separation from the herd, even temporary, even in a safe arena, triggers a genuine threat response. Cortisol rises, heart rate elevates. The horse is not pretending to be stressed. He is stressed, measurably, at the level of blood chemistry. The barn specifically tends to become a secondary anchor for that same biology. Food, rest, familiar smells, and, critically, relief. Every time your horse gets back to the barn after a ride, the stress lifts, and that relief is reinforcing, not in a metaphorical sense, in the precise operant conditioning sense. The behavior that preceded the relief gets stronger. Going home works, so going home becomes the strategy. Which means that every time you've turned around early because the argument got too big, you have, without meaning to, made the barn sour behavior slightly more reliable. Not because you failed as a rider, because you were in an escalating cycle that almost nobody explains clearly enough to interrupt. Here's the part that tends to land hard when people actually sit with it. You are also a variable in this equation. Your horse is reading you the entire time, not as a figure of speech, but as a documented behavioral reality. Horses track human emotional state through a combination of postural cues, breath rate, muscle tension, and possibly heart rate variability. Research out of the University of Sussex has shown horses can distinguish between human facial expressions of happiness and anger and respond differently to each. So when you leave the barn with your jaw set and your hands already anticipating a fight, your horse is receiving that information. The anxiety in the system isn't only his, some of it is yours. And if he's already operating in a mild threat state, your attention confirms what he suspected. That's not a criticism, it's a system problem, and system problems require different solutions than behavior problems. What actually changes barn sour behavior, and this is where a lot of training advice goes sideways, is not drilling the departure until it stops. It's not circling at the gate until he gives up. It is building you into his nervous system as a reliable predictor of safety. That sounds abstract. The practical version is this. The work that happens away from the barn needs to become, at least some of the time, genuinely easier than the work that happens near it. Rest away from the barn. Let him stop and breathe somewhere that isn't home. Let the absence of the herd occasionally correlate with the absence of pressure. Slowly, over time, your presence becomes data. Not a guarantee, but a signal he's learned to trust. Most horses don't need a stronger rider, they need more evidence. There's something worth sitting with there.
The horse that spins for home, that calls out, that turns every hack into a negotiation, he isn't trying to undermine you. He's trying to stay alive in the only way his brain knows how. The relationship he has with the barn isn't defiance, it's the closest thing to certainty he's found. And the goal isn't to take that certainty away from him, it's to become part of it. That's a different project than most people start when they go looking for a fix. If you've ever had a horse genuinely settle on a trail or stop scanning and just walk, you know what it feels like when that shift happens. That horse has decided you're safe enough. Not forever, not unconditionally, but enough. That's what you're building toward every time you leave the barn and come back without the wheels coming off. Go watch your horse the next time he comes home. Watch where the tension leaves his body first. The jaw? The base of the neck? Somewhere around the flank? That's the signal you're working against, and also the one that tells you exactly what you're trying to become.